Here, I'll put this right here.
I got 2 houses under contract this week.
Oh,
That's
good.
exciting.
I need you. Yeah.
Yay, I need money bad. Real bad.
That's it.
But I can't get the money till,
They close.
Yeah.
if I could just get the money on the day I find the house.
Yeah. What, do you know you sold them?
Well, you gotta wait to see if they, all their mortgage stuff goes through, yeah.
Yeah, you did.
One of them I had to cut my commissions $2,500 to make it happen.
Oh, no.
That stunk.
This one's dead.
Oh, like you had to lower your.
It's not dead. That's not me. It's not dead.
Percentage?
Yeah, I had to
No,
buy,
turn it
but
on.
they were $5,000
It's not on.
apart and they would not move either one of them. So me and the other agent split the $5,000 to make the deal
You
happen.
mean to come out of y'all's commission?
My goodness.
When there's 2 agents and then both of you are working under a broker, how does the commission get split? Like you were the buyer, seller's agent or buyer?
Most houses, it's a 6% commission,
Okay?
Trying to say something
and
later.
it's either, they started,
I'll talk about it.
They started doing this thing on the Eastern Shore where they always split it 50-50, but some of these.
The buyer and the seller agent,
Yeah.
okay?
Well, some of these big, like Coldwell Banker real properties and stuff, and there's another one, Nichols. They started thinking that they should get 60% if they have the listing and only give the buyer's agent 40%.
Wow,
So
okay.
some of them we only get 2.4% on.
All right, so let's just say it is an even split. So you get 3 and
If
the
it's
buyer.
an even split, I get 3, and then you have to split that
With
the
your broker. I was gonna ask you, okay.
And I mean, everybody's different. That's
But-
an agreement that the agent and the broker have.
But you can sell it and, you can list it and
sell it
and you
if
get
you can find the
6%.
buyer and you get the whole thing.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you'd still have to
So you
split
really
with the
don't get that
broker.
much percentage.
Not really. Not like
Not
it's
like
a
that
lot
could
of money.
really-
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, but for one, let's just say
homeowner pays,
she's
but-
2.4%, and she has to give the broker some, whatever. And the broker can say, you're getting started, take it all, but 2.4% on, let's say it's a $500,000 house, that's pretty good money.
Yeah, but what if it's only $100,000 house?
Yeah.
Well, hey, there's not much left in Baldwin County for 100 there may be, but,
Yeah.
Well, I sold
Yeah.
one of the ones was a DR Horton for 200,000, and I'll make now I make less on that one because it was a lead that my broker gave me. So
Yeah, but
if
you
she-
still like.
So I make like 3,000. 3,000.
Oh.
Well, that'll be good.
But I mean,
Yeah,
I
no.
don't really have to do that much work for it, but it's hard finding the buyers and the list. I mean, it's
Yeah.
I've never seen an email like that.
I don't really feel like it's all that much work for the money yet, but
I think it's just
finding it is
Yeah,
what's the
just like,
hard.
yeah,
Finding the people is
Yeah.
what's hard. I like it a lot though.
That's good.
Do you think it helped having your picture put on that?
I took my
Same.
picture off.
Oh, you did? You didn't like that?
Well, I had some weird
Off
guy
of what?
call me
Oh,
off my cards.
good.
A weirdo call me. So.
See, I'm not in it for your business, mister.
Yeah.
Michelle, where's your hair?
Oh, it's all up here. It's wrapped up because it's looking like a lion.
Oh,
I didn't fix it.
I noticed this morning that you had it curled or something. from
It looked
it.
pretty.
It just was down. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. It looks so pretty. I think it was last week. It was down and up like this, but big, loose curls like
Mhm.
that. It looked real pretty.
Thank you. Yeah, when it's rainy, I just can't do very many
Won't
things.
do.
It's just
Is Willie out of town?
no, he's working.
Okay.
He's out of town in Orange Beach.
we got a couple minutes before 6, honey?
Yeah, we got like 4 minutes.
Okay, good deal. We sent the note to our regular group, or the link, I'm sorry. Thanks. So Michelle, we can do it as part of Bible class, or we can talk about it as we get going. But you had asked about the calendar.
Is your hat?
Yeah.
Hang on, we're doing Well, I'll look it up
Oh, I
for
need
you.
it this place, but it's.
And I had a piece of paper, here it is, okay.
Let me get a pen.
I won't get all this spelled right. I mean, I can spell it, but I don't know if I'll pronounce it. But this is, we can just talk about this before we start, it won't hurt anything. So, all right, Michelle, so, and the Jews have a similar thing, but I will do better things. Okay, so their calendar is based on what you're gonna hear or see the term, and I can't pronounce it, but I can at least spell it, H-I-J-R-I.
Is this who?
Islamic.
Okay.
Michelle was asking last week, and it was a good question because we were talking like, our calendar is all from the birth of Christ.
Like history book and everything. Even people that don't believe in Jesus, it says AD and BC.
So she was like, well, if Jesus is no big deal to the Islam, I mean, he's a prophet to them, are they going to say their calendar is based off the year of the Lord that died for our sins and all? And so where we were last week, Holly, Muhammad started Islam. He was born in Arabia.
Right.
And in 570 AD, after the birth of Christ, is when he started it. And I'm sorry, when he was born.
When he's born. Yeah.
But he's the founder of it. He lived to 630 or 32. So, all right. So their calendar, Michelle, this term right here, I don't know how y'all would spell it. That's an Arabic word. Hijri. Okay. And so it's based on it's called the Islamic New Year. And here's what it all centers around. When this guy, Muhammad, he was born in the city of Mecca as a baby, grew up, and he started, supposedly, Allah started telling him somewhat to write in the Quran in Mecca. But he wasn't very obviously powerful. He hadn't got his thing going. But he had some followers, and he left Mecca to another city in Arabia called Medina. That big leave, that move where all his followers said, forget you idiot Jews, we're out of here. Is this word, and it's called the Islamic New Year, and it happened, Michelle, in what we call AD 622, but they call it they call it AH. Both of these are Latin terms. This is Anno Domini. This one is Anno, I'll write it best I can. Like I said, I can't pronounce. This one is Anno Hegre, and it comes from this right here. Ours is Anno Domini, and it's Latin, this means in the year of our Lord. So this is in the year, the new Islamic year, which is when Muhammad and his followers pulled out of Mecca and headed to Medina. That's when they recognize their calendar.
So
but they obviously know that.
For 10 years.
Huh?
He really only reigned for 10 years then.
Well, now he had quite a bit of power before he left, but he did not take over Mecca. In the last 10 years, he came back and squashed Mecca, where he grew up and all. They wouldn't follow him. They thought he was crazy and all that. He came back with his army then and squashed them. So yes, when he left, he didn't have long. He got big quick, powerful quick. So they track it. I mean, they track it.
I have a question before you go any further.
Okay.
So over in Israel, right?
Yeah.
Right?
What about Israel?
They're doing this?
No, we're talking.
Where are they doing this?
We're talking Arabia right now, where
okay.
Muhammad came from.
Oh, okay.
My question was like, okay, if what is their calendar? Like what do they say today is?
They're gonna track it they're gonna say it's in 2018, but if you really wanted to drill down to what they're saying, they're not saying 2000 today, it's 2018. They're not saying
So in their history
2018
books, they
from the
would
year
say
of our
AH.
Lord. They're saying 2018 from, and it's written in all their literature like this.
So in their history books, they would say AH. Okay.
And so that's Hijra or Hijri, I don't know how to pronounce what that, but so it goes right along with ours. I mean, they know that Adam and them were way back there. So it's called ours is Anno Domini in the year of our Lord. Theirs is Anno Hegre, that's a Latin term right there. And it's based off of when he left his home city of Mecca and went to Medina, where he wrote the rest of the Quran. He had a lot of revelations, he says, from Allah. And so if you were to probably look in true Islamic literature in Arabic, it would say A-H.
Okay.
And believe it or not, Jews use a term, they have, in Latin it's also A something, but I can't remember what it is.
Okay, 6:02.
Okay. So I hope that
Yeah.
helps a little bit. It's, but, so like we talked last week, they do acknowledge Jesus Christ. All right, well, let's get started then, if it's 6 o'clock. So last week we talked about Islam, and I want to talk about it again this week and probably finish next week or maybe a little more. But I want you to think about this before we go any further. It's easy for us as Christians, we grew up around the Bible and hearing about Jesus Christ as kids and all. It's easy for us to read, and I'll point out I'll read some things right out of the Quran again tonight. It's easy for us to be a little bit laughing and snicker going, that's stupid. That's not the right way to be. The end of our goal, if for me at least, and you decide for yourself, my whole thing is to warn y'all about what I think the danger involved. But do we know any man or woman on this earth's heart? No. Do we? Are there people confused about this? I'm sure there are. There are people that think they're saved and are not, right? I'm talking about in Christianity. So what should be my purpose at the end of all this? To laugh at them and say they're stupid and all that? Or to learn how to do what?
Deal with them.
Witness to them. If I'm who I'm supposed to be, and I struggle doing right, but if I'm going to do a bit right, I'm supposed to, Paul said we're supposed to, in Colossians chapter 3, we're supposed to learn how to answer who? Our family and friends? He said all men. Answer, he said, learn how to answer them of the hope that lieth in you. So it's difficult to witness to a Muslim until you start seeing and piecing together a few things. I won't get into it tonight, but when we end this looking at what Islam is, we need to do the right thing, and that is say, well, am I going to run around saying their book is stupid, or am I going to run around saying I want to know how to witness to one in case I meet one, or who knows what, right? That's the purpose, okay? So I'm not here to laugh at them. Will that help them? Zero. Will it help me? Zero. What will help us both? If one of them gets saved. So we got to learn the facts before we can witness, and so that's what I'm hoping to do. But there's I guess it's techniques on how to witness to a Muslim. You got to know a few things. Even the Quran to me is so mixed up and all. It even says some things that the word talking about from God that was sent down to Isa, that's Jesus Christ in the Quran, in the Quran, Isa. In one place it says for them to follow that word. And then in another place it says those of the book, talking about the Bible, don't. So there's a lot of mix and match going on in there. But when you start knowing some of those things, you could show a Muslim, say, well, even, Muhammad said this about the Bible. Can I show you something in the Bible if Muhammad really said it's okay? And they may be like, what if they never seen the verse where Muhammad said it's okay? But Muhammad also said it's evil. So you gotta struggle with that. You gotta think that through as you go. All right. So here's last week we talked about Allah, women, maybe a little bit about line, and I'll do a little bit more on line. But I mainly want to focus on our study tonight. Is it truly a religion of peace or not? You know what I'm saying? And so let's think about that real quick. For anybody that wasn't here last week, Allah in the Quran is considered a deceiver. It says so, that he's the great deceiver. And that's pretty amazing that it says that. Now another thing about Allah, all English translations of the Quran, except for one or two real ones that are translated from Arabic, and it's awful hard to get a hold of one of those. I shouldn't say it's hard to get a hold of one. 99% of them have been watered down for the Western world. Allah in all Islamic literature is replaced with God. But be it known, y'all, Allah is not God. We covered that last week. Allah, it says in the Bible, in the Quran, is a deceiver. It says he lies. It says Allah prays. Remember we looked at that last week? Who in the world would God pray to? He's it. Nobody. So just make sure you understand Allah is not God. Last week we talked about women in the Quran and in Islam itself, the religion. A few facts about women in Islam. that's trying to be hidden a lot over here in the U.S. and in Europe and so on, is a woman cannot fast or pray during her period, her menstrual cycle. A woman has half the value of a man in both what she can inherit from her dad and if she has to witness like in a court of law. She has half the value. It takes 2 women to equal 1 man. Women are unclean. There's a verse that actually indicates they're dirtier than dirt. There must be a barrier between a male and a female during prayer. Women can never be beside a man during their 5 prayers a day. They have to be behind the man. Most women will end up in hell, per the Quran, per their teaching. A man can lie to his wife. If a woman commits adultery, she's to be stoned to death. Not so for a man. A man can in the spoils of war and with his wives and slaves, unfortunately he can have sex with them or whatever. A man can marry a child and have sex, which is terrible. Talking about women. A man is encouraged to scourge, that means beat and whip his wife if he believes that she may fall away from Islam. I think we covered some of those. In a lot of countries, Muslim countries, a woman can't drive. Here's a weird one we didn't cover last week. I'll read you this one. This one's odd. I'm going to run to chapter 24 of the Quran real quick. This particular Quran is translated from Arabic, and nothing's tried to be taken out or hidden or whatever. So in chapter 24, real quick, I'm not going to spend much time on the woman part of it tonight, but look at this one right here. It says this: "And say to the believing woman to restrain their eyes and to keep their private parts, and do not display their ornaments," and I think it talks about their breast, "except that which appears from it, and that they throw their veils over their bosoms and do not display their ornaments, except to their husbands, or to their fathers, or their husbands' fathers, or their sons, or their husbands' sons, and so on, who have not looked," husbands' sons, or their brothers' sons, or their women, or what their right hand possess, or the male followers who have no substantial sexual desire," or something, blah, 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 blah. Here's a funny one. Y'all see ladies, sometimes we see ladies walking around without a bra. "And not stomp with their legs so that their hidden ornaments may be known."
Not stomp with their legs? Stomp?
I don't know what that means. You have to figure it out for yourself.
Makes you wiggle.
I guess figure it out for yourself. Look, in all seriousness, folks, do we laugh or do we learn how to witness?
I'm sorry.
Hey, we can have a little humor, but understand this. There are Muslims out there that that's just what they think they're supposed to do and believe in all. Maybe we get the chance one day to tell them the truth. You know what I'm saying? Let's
A
fill them
lot of
up.
them probably haven't even read all that stuff.
They have not. Most of them have not. Most of them don't have a clue what's in a real Quran. In fact, U.S.-born ones who never have learned to speak Arabic, just like you and I can go to the store and get a bunch of different versions of the Bible, they can go to the store and just pick about 10 or 15 English translations of the Quran, and it has, I'm about to tell you in a minute how they get there, it has all kind of soft stuff in it that feels good and is nice and kind. So let's don't be foolish about our approach here. Anyway, I'll read one last one, then we'll move on. About women, then I just wanted to update you a couple I didn't do. And I'm going to go to chapter 33 and verse 50 of the Quran, and it says something about Muhammad. Muhammad had it kind of laid out special for himself, you'll find throughout these things. Let's see if I can find. All right, it says, I'm in 33:50. "O you prophet," it's talking about Muhammad, "surely we have made it lawful for you, your wives whom you have given their wages, and those that your right hand possesses." Remember that last week we learned that meant slaves and so on. "Which Allah has granted you, and the daughters of your paternal uncle, and the daughters of your paternal aunts, and the daughters of your maternal uncle and maternal aunts, those who immigrate with you, and a believing woman, if she gives herself to the prophet, if the prophet desires to have sex with her, this is a privilege for you, but not for any other believers." So Muhammad, all the daughters of his uncles and so on like that, and when it says those who immigrate with you. That means somebody from another country or religion that came over to be with you in Islam, or your slaves. So Muhammad himself, had special privileges. And one thing I've learned in reading this book, you start learning there's a ton in it about what he had on his brain. It was like, it comes out in a lot of the chapters. It's about what you can do with your women and you can't. And all it's kind of.
What about somebody that like is reading the Bible and is saying, or like, whether it's a Muslim person or somebody that maybe doesn't believe everything the Bible says, or an argument that they could say is like, okay, well in the Bible it talks about women not necessarily the same way, but like there's like if you think that your wife is cheating on you and she's carrying a child, you can make her drink this drink and she will not have the child, and like
that's in the Bible?
Yeah, and like in Leviticus or Numbers in the beginning, like they can make them drink a drink or something. Yeah, but there's like just small little things. I don't think it obviously says it as in depth, but like somebody could compare and say like, well, the Bible has this and the Bible has that.
Well, so what I would, if somebody said that to me, I would take them to this. I would take them to, and we got to get to that. That's a good point. If we get to it tonight, we'll have time. We got to get to the point, because here's what else they say. In the Old Testament, there was tons of killing.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
We'll get to there if we can. But what I would say, if somebody said that to me, I would take them to this right here real quick, and then I'd move on. I would say, here's what I'm taught to do. I can make myself turn there. I would say, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it, that he might sanctify and cleanse it with a washing of water by the word, that he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. There's no wiggle room there.
Yeah.
You can beat your wife right here if you think she's going to leave Islam, just because you think it. You see what I'm saying? A woman here has half the value of a man. A woman can't drive in some countries. A woman can't witness. A woman has, unless there's two of them, a woman has to be behind a man in prayer. If a woman's in her menstruation cycle, she can't go to the mosque and pray. Love. Now this cuts right to it. Love. So ought men to love their wives as their own body. What man's going to beat up or hurt his own body, right? That's how much. And he's supposed to love his wife the way Christ loved the church. What did Christ do for the church?
God on the cross.
Gave himself for it. Would your husband run out in front of a car to knock you out of the way and get run over himself? Is my point. I'm not. I don't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Would a Muslim man die for his wife? Not if he goes by the rules. So we got to get to that point. What you said, because they say, well, the Old Testament has a lot of killing in it. Real briefly. All the killing in the Old Testament was orchestrated and approved and called for by who? God Almighty. Every killing in the Old Testament, the flood, God said because of their sins. All the killing in Islam we're about to get to tonight in the Quran is because, it's only because, has nothing to do with sin, the people who won't convert to Islam. There's a huge difference there. Mm-hmm. We're not God. We can't decide who gets to live and die. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we'll get to those. Good question, Michelle. So back to the woman thing. I was going to read you this one verse. Hopefully it gives you comfort. Women being less. I'm in Galatians chapter 3, verse 28. It says, I'll read this one verse and we'll move on. And guys, I'm not taking the time to do a lot of comparisons to the Bible. I will if we need to, but I hope we have some general thinking of the Bible. We've been learning and talking. In Galatians 3, verse 28 and verse 27, it says, or let's go to 26. For ye are all the children of God by faith in Christ Jesus. For as many of you as have been baptized into Christ have put on Christ. There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither bond nor free. Now look at the next passage. There is neither male nor female, for ye are all one in Christ Jesus. Do I have higher value than my wife in Christ Jesus? Is her soul just as important to God as my soul? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. And so is her witness. It's just as important as mine if she witnessed to it. Does it take two of her to match my witness? And on down the line. And so there we go. All right. And so let's go ahead and go. So tonight then, let me hit a couple more things. We talked about Allah, we talked about women. Let me cover a couple more things about lying in the religion of Islam that we didn't have the chance to get into last. And so lying is called in the Arabic word, and I probably won't pronounce this right. It's so lying is this word right here. It's T-A-Q-I. It's T-A-Q-I-Y-Y-A. And I think it's pronounced taqiyya. Taqiyya. So taqiyya is allowed in Islam. And say, well, when is it allowed? What does it mean? Let me hit a few highlights of it if I can. All right. So in the Quran, in chapter 2, verse 225, it says, Allah will not hold you responsible for your mere utterance in an oath, but He will hold you responsible for that which your hearts gained or meant. So you're not responsible for what you utter in an oath, like you're under oath in court. And you can say anything, you're not responsible for it, but you are responsible for what your heart honestly believes. Okay? So I'm going to read a couple of these and we'll go. So I'm going to go to the Quran in chapter 16, verse 106. If I can find my way through here real quick. Okay. And it says, I tried to mark all these before we got too far along. Okay, in 106, it says this. Make sure I got my verse. Okay. Whoever becomes an infidel in Allah after he believed, except one who was compelled and his heart is secure. So becoming an infidel means you deny the faith. You deny Islam's faith. So whoever becomes an infidel in Allah after he believed, so I'm a believer and I deny the faith, except one who was compelled and his heart is secure in faith. So if you held a gun to my head, or I needed to for some other reason, I could deny my faith, as long as my heart's secure. But whoever opens his chest to the infidelity, so on them wrath from Allah, and they will have great torment. Does that see the point? So you can lie in Islam about your faith if you're compelled to, and there's a lot of reasons you can be compelled to. But as long as your heart's not right, doesn't change. I hope that makes sense. All right, in chapter 3:28, it says, okay, believers do not take the infidels for friend. An infidel is anybody who has not called out the Islamic creed. Okay, and what is the creed? There is no God but Allah, and His messenger Muhammad, and so on down the line. We went through last week. Okay, so but do not take the infidels for friends, rather than the believers. And whoever does this, so he has nothing to do with Allah, except that you should guard yourself from them cautiously, and Allah Himself warns you, and to Allah is the final return. So you can take a friend in pretense as long as you need to, but you got to guard yourself from them cautiously. Does that make sense? I hope I'm making sense. But in chapter 5, in verse 55, here's an interesting thing the Quran says. It says this: surely your only friends are Allah and His messenger and those who believed, who perform the prayer and bring legal alms while they're kneeling. So the Quran teaches them they don't have any real friend unless they believe in Allah and His messenger and perform the prayer. So they can say to your friend, it says, perform the prayer and bring legal alms. So if you're not giving money to Islam, you can't be a true friend of a Muslim, according to the Quran. Now, one out on the street may tell you something different. That's between them and whatever they believe. Perform the prayer and bring legal alms while they are kneeling. You got to physically perform the prayer. And whoever takes Allah and His messenger and those who believe for friends, so surely I can't pronounce that word, of Allah are the victors. O you who have believed, take not those who took your religion as a scoff and sport among those who have received the book. That's the Christians and Jews who received the book before you, and the infidels as friends, and fear Allah if you were believers. So you and I would be infidels to people who believe the Quran and understand it. A lot of them don't even know what their religion teaches. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them don't. So, all right. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So we have the Hadith and the Sirah, which are writings of Muhammad and stories of his life. And so one of those, it says lying by an example, lying by omission. An example would be when a Muslim quotes only a fraction of a verse. So they don't have to tell you the whole verse like we would in the Bible. Like if half the verse sounds good and the other half sounds bad. So in chapter 5, verse 32, it says, that if anyone kills, it shall be as if he had killed all mankind. But they don't tell you the rest of the verse about what the verse says for killing reasons. And I'll show you in a little while what the reasons for killing is. It's for anybody who don't believe in Islam. Let's see. All right, so one of the great scholars, Ibn Kathir, who quoted from Muhammad, said, it is lawful for Muslims to treat infidels peacefully and not to involve with them in war, only if the infidels have more might and large numbers of followers, as Prophet Muhammad said, as when he was weak in Mecca. So it's okay to treat infidels, non-believers, peacefully as long as, Islam's not real strong in your country or area. You know what I'm saying? All right, so from Muhammad's life, he says, Muslims may wear the cross, like a necklace or whatever, in order to deceive Christians into thinking they are friendly. In Quran 3:28, which says, do not be friends with non-Muslims unless it is a way of guarding yourself against them. And so anyway, how in the world could you believe anything a Muslim tells you? What if they honestly believe it and they're not trying to lie to you? That's a real possibility. What if they've been deceived? The religion says you can lie and deceive to gain more followers. They can pretend to be our friends until they're stronger than us, then they must take us over. And I'll show you that in a minute. So, how do you know? You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, you can't. Okay. So, anybody got any comments on that so far before we move ahead? All right. I was going to cover a thing. Is Islam really a religion of peace? Okay. Is it? That's a big question because in America and all over Europe, that's the whole thing they say it is. So, real briefly, I just looked up, and this is not an Islam thing or nothing. This is just a report. What's called a jihad report, and this is Islam's claiming and making, they're writing in the news agencies, we did that bomb, we did this. So it's called the jihad report from the last week, January 20th of 18 to January 26th, all throughout the Middle East. There's been 33 attacks, 234 have been killed, 273 injured. There were 8 suicide blasts, and all that occurred over 12 countries. Do I know exactly why, who did what? No, I don't know why. But that's the jihad report. It's not like it's something any news one's leaning to the other. It's just the facts. And, okay. So I'm going to run through here, read some verses out of here, trying to answer this question, is it really a religion of peace? And so I hope I'm not boring to you, but I'm going to read quite a few of these because I think you need to know what's in the Quran. So I'm going to go to 33. And go to verse 60 real quick, and it says, if I got some of my verses right, 33, I don't have my glasses, that wasn't good. All right, 33, if the hypocrites and those who have a disease in their heart, obviously that means don't believe in Muhammad and so on, the Muslim, and the agitators in the city do not desist, quit, we will surely arouse you against them. Then they will not be your neighbors in it excepted for a little while. They are cursed wherever they are caught, seized and killed, slaughtering. Okay, so, all right, I'll jump to 47 while I'm close and just read a few of these for you. All right, in 47, 4. So when you meet those who became infidels, meaning they didn't accept your offer to convert, so strike the necks, decapitating until you have made a great slaughter among them. So firmly bind them. So let there either be free dismissals or for a ransom until the war is over. All right. I'm still in chapter 47. I'll go to 35 real quick. All right. So do not be weak and do not call for peace when you have the upper hand. So remember, once you get enough strong. And Allah is with you, and He will not leave you, and He will not leave from you for your works. Okay, so on down the line. We'll go back to 8 real quick. There's a few in 8 I wanted to show you. 8, chapter 8, verse 12. Okay, chapter 8, verse 12 says, when your Lord revealed to the angels, I am with you, so make firm those who believe. I will cast a terror into the hearts of those who became infidels. And if I need, I'll show you in a little while or tomorrow, next week, what truly an infidel. All an infidel is somebody who doesn't submit to Islam. That's all it is. So strike above their necks and chop off every finger from them. This is because they have opposed Allah and His messenger. And whoever opposes Allah and His messenger, so surely Allah is severe in the punishment. I want you to remember who's Allah's, if you oppose Allah's messenger, I want you to remember who His messenger is. He married young kids. History says, and I wasn't there, so whatever, that his wife was 6 years old, a young girl named Ashir. I read y'all last week, they can marry child who haven't even started their menstruation yet. This says, now I know you're not going to run into a Muslim on the street that's going to read this and go, oh yeah, I believe that. I understand that. But I want you to, let me ask you this. If you want to know what a real Christian is, I'm not saying what all these churches say. What do? You start reading the Bible and figure it out. If you want to know what Islam is, I don't know whatever Muslim is. I don't know what's in their heart, right? Maybe we'll get a chance to witness to one day. But the religion says, okay, if you don't, it says, this is because they have opposed Allah and His messenger. Whoever opposes Allah and His messenger, so surely Allah is severe in the punishment. One, Allah is not God. I hope I've shown you that. But Muhammad is His messenger. And if you oppose Him, okay, I'm still in chapter 8. I'm going to jump ahead to, I'll read verse 15 while I'm right there close. O you who have believed, when you meet those who became infidels marching, do not turn your backs to them. And whoever will turn his back to them on that day, unless he turns away strategically to engage in war or to rally some other group, so indeed will return with wrath from Allah, and hell will be his abode, and wretched is the final place. If they meet up with a person who's an infidel and don't fight him to kill him, they themselves end up in hell. Did you catch that? Let me read it again.
Like a lot of people.
Let me read it again. O you who have believed, when you meet those who became infidels marching, do not turn your backs to them. So a believer, if he meets an infidel, don't turn your back. And whoever will turn his back to them on that day, meaning a Muslim turns his back on a non-believer, unless he turns away strategically. In other words, if I'm a Muslim and I meet somebody, I can sneak around, I can run away from them, planning to come around the backside and attack. Unless he turns away strategically in war or to rally some other group, so indeed will return with wrath from Allah, and hell will be his abode, and wretched is the final place. So when it all comes to staying out of hell, here's what you got to think about, even the so-called peaceful Muslims who don't understand all this stuff. When it all comes down to it, though, they're going to think about dying one day, just like you and I, and they're going to start figuring out what this says about not going to hell. And it says a lot of things in there that they have to do to avoid that. All right, I'm going to jump ahead to chapter 30. We're still in 8, chapter 8. If anybody wants to look this up, I'm in 39. It says, and engage in war with them until there will not be sedition, and the religion, Islam, will be completely to Allah. So if they cease, so surely Allah sees what they do. And if they turn away, so know that Allah is your protector. Excellent is the protector, excellent is the helper. Does it sound like it's a religion of peace? I'm not talking about the individual people now. I'm talking about the religion. Okay. So I'm going to jump ahead to, I'm going to go to now 865, if anybody cares where I'm reading from. All right. O you prophet, that's Islam, provoke the believers to engage in war. If there will be 20 patient of you, they will have victory over 200. And if there will be 100 of you, they will have victory over 1,000 of those who became infidels, because they are people who do not understand. So, all right. I'm going to jump ahead to chapter 9 real quick.
They should be killing every person they meet then.
They do when they have enough. They do when they have enough power. That's how he got going. Y'all, the Arabians weren't Islams. Every one of them are Islams now, just about. I can't speak for are Muslims. How do you think they got that way? This religion conquers by the sword and by rape and captivity and evil. This religion does. Nobody signs up in peace to be a Muslim if they know what it is. You know what I'm saying? It's all a forceful thing. All right, I'm going to jump ahead to chapter 9. I'll go to verse 5 real quick. 9:5 says, okay, so when the forbidden months are past, so kill the polytheists. Polytheists are Christians and Jews, God the Father and the Son and so on. They're monotheists, singular. Allah, we'll read later on if we have time, Allah has no son, the Quran says, none. Allah is by himself. So when the forbidden months are past, so kill the polytheists wherever you find them, and take them as captives, and besiege them, and lay wait for them with every kind of ambush. So if they repent and perform the prayer, and do what? And bring legal alms, so leave their way free. Surely Allah is forgiving and merciful. Okay. Verse 20. Those who believed and immigrated and performed jihad for the sake of Allah with their money and with their lives, of the highest degree with Allah, and those are the triumphant. Those, the ones that there's elsewhere we talked about last week, those who perform jihad with their money and their life, they don't have to go into hell for a holding period for Allah to get them out. All others do.
Jihad is when they commit
holy
suicide.
War. That's holy war.
Oh.
But y'all will see a place in here later on where you can commit jihad with your money and be the nicest, sweetest person in the world. So anyway, is it peace? They're taught right here, those who believed and immigrated and performed jihad for the sake of Allah with their money and with their lives, of the highest degree with Allah are those, and they are triumphant. So, 29, engage in war with those who do not believe in Allah nor in the last day, nor forbid what Allah and His Messenger forbid, nor believe in the religion of the truth among those who have been given the book, until they pay the jizya out of the hand and they are subdued. 41. March forth lightly or heavily, if you're a Muslim, it's your choice, and perform jihad with your money and your lives for Allah's sake. This is best for you if you were knowing. So you can perform jihad with your money. You can march forth lightly kind of under the radar, or heavily. You can, get a suicide bomb or whatever. And so, all right, let me get on through with this so we can hit another point, because I didn't want to spend 3 or 4 weeks on all this, but we'll spend as long as we need. Oh, you who have believed, engage in war against chapter 9, verse 123. Engage in war against the infidels who are near to you, and let them find in you harshness, and know that Allah is with the fearer. Even if Allah was God, does God in the Bible tell me and you to go do that? What does He tell me and you to do to somebody that slaps us in the face? Turn the other cheek. What does He do if somebody don't want to accept what I might witness to them about Jesus Christ? Be kind and try again one day. That's all He says to do. Allah's not God. Can you start to see some of all the things? All right. Here was one I wanted to read. I won't read all these, but they're for those who steal, Muslims or not, they're supposed to cut off their hand. If somebody stole from you or I, what would we do? Of course we'd see if we get it back in some manner, but what might we do? Get a chance to witness to them one day? It'd be hard for us to swallow our pride. But anyway, all right, I'm going to go to chapter 48 real quick.
In the jihad, in the Quran?
What, Brad?
In the Quran?
Yes, chapter 48, in verse 28, it says, now here's an interesting one right here. If I read part of this, it'd sound okay. He is who sent his messenger with the guidance and the religion of truth, so that he may exalt it above all other religions. So Islam is exalted above all religions. And Allah is a sufficient witness. Muhammad is Allah's messenger, and those who are with him are severe against the infidels, but full of tenderness among themselves. So, anyway, it goes on, and it gets pretty hard. And if you're a Muslim and you leave Islam, you can't. They're supposed to kill you. In chapter 2, real quick, in verse 217, it says. All right, in chapter 2, verse 217, listen to this. They ask you concerning war in the forbidden month. Say, engaging in war in it is big, and to prevent others from the way of Allah, and to become an infidel in Him and the forbidden mosque, and to get its people out from it is bigger with Allah. And the sedition is bigger than the killing. And they still engage in war with you until they apostate you from your religion, if they can. Now listen to this. Whoever apostates among you, apostate, all that means is leave the truth, leave your religion. Whoever apostates among you from his religion, so he is put to death as an infidel. So their works will be voided in this world and in the hereafter, and those are companions of the fire, and they will abide in it forever. So if a person leaves Islam, they're supposed to be put to death, and they have no way out of hell.
Ooh, this guy's got a special place there, doesn't he?
Well, all right. So
sad, really.
So from this right here, the Hadith Muhammad's life stories, he said, and Al-Tabiri, the scholar, writes in 969, chapter 9, verse 6, Arabs are the most noble people in the lineage, the most prominent, and the best in deeds. We were the first to respond to the call of Prophet Muhammad. So obviously the Arabs are where it got started. We are Allah's helpers and the viziers of his messenger Muhammad. We engage in war with people until they believe in Allah. He who believes in Allah and his messenger has protected his life and his possessions from us. As for one who disbelieves, we will engage in war with him forever in the cause of Allah. Killing him is a small matter to us. Folks, the guy that wrote that has been in the U.S. and speaks at Islamic conventions and things in the U.S. and peaceful things. He's not a radical. He's a scholar. So you decide for yourself if it's a religion if it's a religion of peace. All right, I'm not hitting all these just in the essence of time, and I'm not even getting all of them out of the Quran either. There's many. The messenger of Allah said, I have been commanded to fight against people till they testify that there is no God but Allah, that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, and they establish prayer and pay zakat, that's the taxes, the dues. And if they do it, their blood and property are guaranteed protection on my behalf, except when justified by law, and their affairs rest with Allah. The messenger of Allah said, I have been ordered to fight the people till they say, and I won't get this pronounced right, La ilaha illallah, and that means there is no God but Allah, and whoever said La ilaha illallah, Allah will save his property and his life from me. Pretty rough. In Quran 6, chapter 6, 151, it says, and do not kill the soul which Allah forbids, a Muslim, except for just cause, and there are 3 reasons: murder, adultery, and apostasy. When a Muslim man impregnates a female, whether she's a Christian, Jew, or anything else, or whether it's through rape or marriage or war, the baby must be a Muslim, must live as a Muslim, and must die as a Muslim. This guy right here currently lives in the U.S., okay? He's on the board or he's a member of the biggest Islamic relations thing in the U.S. It's called the CAIR. It's the Council on American Islamic Relations. All right? If you look at any of their website and data, it shows how peaceful Islam is, and they have birds and peaceful love. This guy now is a member of this group, and he speaks in the U.S. and lives in the U.S. He says, nothing in our faith says it's okay to kill anyone. Sounds good, doesn't it? What all did we just read? The same guy, the same man now, he's been over in, not Pakistan, but what's the other one we're fighting? Afghanistan. And he said, slay the unbelievers wherever you find them. The Quran we hold in verse 9, and chapter 9, verse 5. Same guy said one thing standing in the U.S. and a different thing outside the U.S. Here's an interesting thing from an Islamic lady. And this lady, I don't know what her faith is or what she's learning, but here's what she said. Her name is Wafa Sultan, Sultan. The problem with Christians is they aren't as good as Jesus. But thank God most Muslims are better than Muhammad. Pretty serious, it's pretty profound, isn't it? This guy right here, folks, and this is just a drop in the bucket. The guy's visiting the White House when they are allowed to. The guy's speaking after these big bombing attacks that says, no, we're peaceful, we condemn those attacks. Those same people, y'all, say the opposite. So I don't know what else to I mean, there's tons others I can show you, but it's not a religion of peace. And I don't know what's in everyone's heart. How can I judge that? All right, we got a few more minutes, so let's, if y'all want to keep going, y'all want to go a few more minutes. Let's talk about, to them, what salvation is. I didn't even, well, yeah, I wrote it up here, eternity salvation. I intend to finish up next week, y'all, with one talking about what's the right way to witness and help them see the truth, if you can. And then 2, I was going to show you a few things to watch out for, some of the ways where they do the most of their deceiving, like maybe the lady we talked about last week or whatever, just so you have a feel for it. Salvation to them is this. All Muslims, unless you give your life doing jihad, okay, all Muslims go to hell when they die. And Allah gets them out as He sees fit. If you die performing jihad, though, you bypass hell and you go straight into the garden with some virgins and stuff. Your determination of getting out of hell is how well you did it's all good deeds, it's all works. It's how well you did on the 5 pillars of Islam, and in some cases there's more than 5, there's 6 or 7. So you lived your life on the 5 pillars, and the pillars we went through last week, they're the prayer, the money contribution, in some cases it's jihad. I can't remember all the 5 pillars. All right, so real quick,
It's a shame you have to go to hell before you can get out.
so I'll read a couple of those real quick. All right, I'll run to chapter 3 real quick. You know, we talk about somebody defending their faith, and they can lie, right, about their faith and everything. If they think they're going to go to hell to leave their faith, would they not lie and make it sound good and try to get you involved and all? How do you know? I mean, you can't trust anything they say or do. But in chapter 3, verse 10, it says if they leave the faith, they're hellbound and can't get back. So I can get there real quick. The print in here is pretty small. All right, chapter 3, verse 10 says, surely those who become infidels, that means if you become an infidel, you were a believer, surely those who became infidels, their money and their children will not profit them anything against Allah, and those are fuel for the fire. So can you see how hard it'd be for a person who's pretty strong in that to leave? It'd be tough. While I'm in chapter 3, let me go to 28, which says, believers do not take the infidels for friends rather than the believers, meaning take Muslims for your friends instead of unbelievers. And whosoever does this, so he has nothing to do with Allah. So if you take a unbeliever for a friend, you got nothing to do with Allah. What does that mean? You're lost, right? That's pretty tough, pretty hard. All right, let's see. I'll go to 11 while I'm closed. Chapter 11, verse 114 says. So this is about good deeds. We're talking now about what do they believe in, how to be saved or go to heaven or whatever. And perform the prayer at the 2 edges of the day and at the approach of night. Surely good deeds drive away the evil deeds. This is a reminder to those who remember. And be patient. So surely Allah will not waste the wages of the doers of good. So good deeds drive away the evil deeds in their program. All right. I'll go one more time. I'll go back to chapter 3, verse 185. This is about Muslims entering hell before they can get out. It says, every soul tastes the death, and surely you will only receive your wages on the resurrection day. So every soul tastes the death. If I'm saved by the blood of Jesus, will I taste any death at all from now on? No. This thing right here. So whoever is removed from the fire and enters the garden, so Allah gets to get you out in the garden, so indeed he becomes triumphant. And so on down the line. I'll run over to 98, chapter 98, which is kind of near the end. There's 114 chapters in the Quran, guys. In 98, verse 6, surely those who became infidels from the people of the book and polytheists, so that would be Jews and Christians, will abide in the fire of hell forever. Those are the worst of the creatures. Surely those who believed and did good deeds, those are the best of the creatures. Their reward is with their Lord, Eden's gardens. Below them the rivers flow. They will abide in it forever and ever. Allah is pleased with them, and they are pleased with Him. So the polytheists, the people of the book, will abide in the fire of hell forever, and we are the worst of the creatures. Here's an interesting one in chapter 11 about Muhammad's uncle. He said in verse 4, Chapter 11:4 real quick, he said. Yep, I got my reference wrong. That's not that one. Huh. I'll have to, maybe it was 111:4. I'll check it real quick before we. Okay, and 111. Okay, 111:4. Muhammad's uncle was called, I guess it's Abu Lahad. Perish the hands of Abu Lahad, and he will perish. His money and what he has earned did not benefit him. He will roast in a flaming fire, and his woman, his wife, will be a carrier of firewood. She will have a rope of fiber around her neck. So Muhammad's uncle evidently refused to convert to Islam, so he'll roast in the fire, and his wife will be the carrier of the firewood. So,
I think he's got that wrong.
all right.
Yep.
And Quran in 3:169 says, "And do not consider those who were killed for the sake of Allah as dead," meaning in jihad. "Yet they are alive with their Lord, receiving their provision." I do want to read you this one in 47. It says Allah needs help. That's odd. So this is one that's kind of chilling as far as people hiding what they really believe in things. In 47 verse 7 it says, 7 to 12, "O you who have believed, if you help Allah, then Allah will help you and set your feet firm. And for those who became infidels, there will be misery to them, and he will lead their works astray. This is because they hate what Allah has sent down, so he voids their work. Have they not walked on earth so they see how it was in the end of those who were before them? Allah brought destruction on them and to the infidels likewise. This is because Allah is the guardian of those who believed, and the infidels have no guardian. Surely Allah will admit those who believed and did good deeds into gardens. Below them the rivers flow. And those who became infidel, they enjoy it and eat as livestock eat, and the fire will be their abode." So that's what they believe. If you're not a Muslim, when you die, the fire will be your abode. You can't go it. So I don't want to just wear y'all out with so many of those. But the good works put you in the garden or determine how long you stay in hell, and the good works are based on the pillars of Islam and so on. So it's a tough situation. Let's see if I can. There was one thing about I know where it is. So I'll read in 112. This is a different topic here. This is about in chapter 112, verse 1. It says, "Say, He is Allah, the one of. Allah is absolute. He does not birth, neither was He birthed, and there is no one equal to Him." Allah does not birth. Jesus Christ is God's only begotten Son, and Jesus said Himself He was equal to God. So Allah didn't birth anyone, and there is no one equal to Him, to Allah. So, if you believe Jesus Christ literally in your heart is the only way out of hell, then there's nothing in this book for you whatsoever. If you believe there might be another way out of hell, or we could be good enough, or maybe all that Christian stuff's not good, then every person will have to make up their own mind. I know what I believe.
Have you read that whole thing?
Not every word, no, I have not. I've just been trying to look up various things and go through it and try to. There's like an index in the back, so you could look up like all the verses about jihad, or you could look up verses, not all of them, but some verses about women. There's like an index, like a Bible would have, about words.
Are we offline?
I'm sorry, what you say?
No, I didn't know if she had turned it off.
Is that a Quran there?
No, it's the Bible.
Oh, I thought he was like keeping it.
No.
I was like,
No, I was trying to find that verse because I was like, no, I'm not crazy.
which one are you looking for? Tell me,
It's
and I may try to find it.
Numbers. No, I found it. It's
Okay.
because I just read it.
So let me see if I can find it. Go ahead.
Numbers 5.
Okay, go ahead. Let me
And it's
let me get to it with you.
Did a Christian do this translation?
A guy that came out of all that, he speaks a true Arabic. That's one of the few you can find translated from Arabic. Most all the English translations are watered down. And by the way, if you can lie, is it okay to write a Quran that has a bunch of soft, peaceful stuff in it? I didn't tell you tonight, we'll get to it next time, but they have a doctrine of subrogation, and that means that a scholar at some level can take one verse and say, no, this verse overrides that one. So they can take a peaceful verse and say it overrides this hard verse. Mm-hmm. Or a lady can take a verse that says, be nice to your wives, and say, oh no, this one trumps over the one that says, be mean to your wife, and so on. All right, Michelle, what verse?
I mean, it talks about the whole chapter. It's like their different laws of the Nazarites or whatever.
Okay.
But basically, it was like if the husband thinks the wife did something wrong, then they can go to the priest. The priest gives her this drink to drink, and it would cause her belly to swell and like her thing to rot. And then if she really didn't do anything wrong, then the seed will conceive. I mean,
Has it got to
the
do
whole
with,
chapter.
Is you sure it's got to do with that, or is it finding out if she really cheated on the husband or not?
Yeah, if
Is
no man.
it abortion, or is it finding out? Is it
No, like
the priest to find out if she
about the
cheated?
jealousy thing, like if the
Correct.
spirit of jealousy come upon and they'd be defiled, blah blah blah, and it keeps going on down. And then they can go to the priest and do an offering, and then the priest would give her something to drink. And if she's defiled, then it goes like on like I think.
It's in 19. It's 19 through Morgan.
Well, really, it's like 11 to 31.
19 through 29.
She said 11 to 30.
So it's got to do if a woman cheated on her husband.
Right, right.
It's not killing a baby though.
Well,
It's not
no,
an abortion.
What it is if she drinks that drink and
Let's see
she
what we
did
got
do
here.
it and it causes her belly to swell and it shall rot. And then
What
the
shall
woman
rot?
She shall rot.
But it's
No,
not
it's
talking
talking
about. It's not
her
talking. I don't
belly
think it's
shall
talking
swell
about
and
abortion.
her thighs shall rot, and the woman shall be a curse among her people. And if the woman be not defiled, but be clean, then she shall be free, and she shall conceive seed.
Right, she shall conceive,
But
meaning
Michelle, if you start it down in about verse 11, it's not about considering whether or not she's pregnant. It's about whether or not she cheated on her husband.
I wasn't saying that it had to do with whether she was pregnant. I was just saying,
You're
like,
right.
My whole point of this.
I don't
thing
think it's talking about an abortion though. I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't think it's saying that they're going to make her have an abortion. But if she did wrong and she drank that drink, then she's
Her belly would
cursed.
swell up, and
Right.
she's cursed.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. No, the whole reason I was even bringing this up was that somebody could say, well, in the Old Testament they had this and they had that, and that's somebody that's obviously not dividing. But I was just saying, like,
I got you.
that's something that somebody could come and say. But as far as like
What?
the Muhammad guy, to me,
Well,
he
go
took
ahead.
the Bible.
He played games with it.
And yeah, like, cause everything, like, it's like, but then he made it like what he wanted to make it.
He, and I'm glad you see that. He wrote, and I haven't gotten to it because I don't know how much of this y'all want to go through. He wrote about
Right,
Abraham. He wrote all the stories, but then he put weird stuff in them.
right.
So it'd be
Or
like,
even like all the laws.
I
like,
could
he
take-
made his own thing, what he wanted
but
to
he
make.
was a sex pervert.
Right,
All his writings had to do with beat your wife, take
Yeah.
slaves, and by the way, in war, and the Quran says, if we go to war and I'm a Muslim, blah blah blah, and I kill Willie and all that, and take you and the kids, I can sell y'all as prostitutes or keep y'all for myself as my own.
Yeah,
It's, the guy had.
yeah,
It's almost. I mean, if I wanted to write some weird kooky thing and I got the Bible, I could just start messing with it.
right. That's what I think.
So, but all I want y'all to do is be careful. You're going to be out in the world. I wanted to talk some tonight about the lying because I want you to see what they're allowed to do. No, is some 15-year-old kid at Foley High School planning all that? No, I doubt it. But their parents, your kid befriends them, and what can their parents say? Well, okay, we can lie, we can do this, we can do that, and then, the next thing you know, they're dating their sons, and it's too late then. They can't leave. You say, in America, I'll just go pick her up. No, it's different than you may think. But are we to laugh and poke fun, or are we to prepare ourselves to witness? You know what I'm saying? Can some of them be innocent in this? By all means.
Yeah.
What's the difference in me? Let's say, and y'all know that I feel like if a person really believes the Catholic religion, they would be lost, if that's all they're relying on. What's the difference in me trying to witness to them, and I do quite often, especially through work, or witness to a Muslim? No different. If I think both of them need to hear the gospel, shouldn't I get on with it? I just want to learn a little bit more about how. I understand a little bit, let's just say, about Catholics because of works and, or like Mormonism, I know a little bit more about it, but this I don't. But yeah, it says that she will be accursed and rot her belly. I can't tell you exactly what that means.
No, I was just saying that, like,
it sounds weird, don't it?
Somebody
Sounds
would
harsh.
say, well, they have just as much crazy stuff in the Bible. Like, that's what I was saying. Like,
Yeah.
But
They don't beat them.
right.
They don't slay and.
This says the story of Lot is copied from the Bible and corrupted.
Yeah.
So it
That
kind of
commentary.
tells you
The guy that wrote
commentary.
that. Yo, you were probably there. Were you there when he spoke at Bill's? Maybe you were.
I don't think so. Does he look like a Muslim guy?
Oh yeah, he's
He's
No, I
good.
Egyptian.
definitely
He's
don't
It looks like the guy in that picture. He looks like this
Yeah,
guy.
I
right
definitely don't
there.
remember that then.
I mean, you
Pretty
know,
sure that would have stuck in my mind.
just
now. I
because
wasn't there.
y'all, just because somebody looks like this, there's tons of
Well,
people
no, I know.
that
I'm just
Jews
saying,
look
like,
like
but
this
there's-
too.
Yeah, no, I know.
But he looks like kind of like that. But no, he speaks fluent Arabic.
Yeah.
He's
And he-
Egyptian.
He's
Well,
Egyptian.
that's what we were talking about the
he
other
grew up
day.
in it.
Daddy and I were talking about like people like especially Catholics have like they have like all these like white men on these pictures like Jesus and all the apostles, and I'm like, Johnny, everybody over there is dark skinned. They don't have like not your
No,
color.
I will. So there's a weird thing about we're talking about black and white. In there, he said the white faces have perfection, and it's weird. He being Muhammad, the black faces he had something
But they're
real
all dark
degrading
over
to
there.
say. The black faces and the white faces. I don't know what he was talking about.
Yeah.
I came across the verse the other day and I didn't understand it, so I said, well, I'm not going to
Yeah,
get into it.
yeah.
But
which was
But,
the opposite of what he was.
Right. That's weird because like I mean like it's just people are darker there. Like
I don't know if he meant black faces like the true Ethiopians. See,
Oh.
back in his
A
day,
bunch of this stuff he just takes part of the Bible and corrupts it.
that's what I was saying.
he
like,
just mixes and
he's
matches
he's
stories.
just putting whatever he
and,
wants in there.
Does things
Because
with
he
it.
can't come
But
up with it on his own. He's like, okay, let me copy that and mess it up a little bit.
bear in mind, the entire Bible was written before he was born. The last of the Bible was written right in here. You know, Paul was in jail. You know, the prison epistles. This is Acts 28, and so this is 68. So 500 years before he was born, the Bible had been gone, and there was all these different translations and copies of the Bible, and just like there is now, you know, Greek manuscripts and Hebrew manuscripts, and so. But just recognize that it's a lot of deceit in the religion, and
So when there was all those different religion or translations back then,
different
there was
manuscripts.
one though that was pure.
Parts and pieces somewhere were pure because God, the Holy Spirit, inspired those King James translators, and they had access to it.
But that wasn't until
What to write?
1611. Right?
Late 1500s, and it was finally finished in 1611.
So before that,
He had manuscripts. Jesus right here read out of the Old Testament,
I know, but
standing
did
in the
they have it
synagogue.
all put together?
I don't think they had it all together in one
So how
whole
did
volume.
those people?
They kept it and got it together, and in some of those old temples, they kept it together, I'm sure. They got it together, bits and pieces.
So I guess maybe back then, those people that didn't have it to read, they aren't accounted, like
They
God
would-
wouldn't account them for what they couldn't know.
That's right. But they would go to the synagogue sometimes and get read to.
I've got to go.
Um,
I've got to go to Fairhope.
But you're right, it was hard. Not everybody had a copy of the Bible like we do now.
I got to be there at 9 in the morning. Anyways.
It's a little bit scary that what we're accountable for.
Yeah.
Imagine reading under
That's what I'm saying,
candlelight.
they-
Imagine reading under candlelight every scrap you could get with no air conditioning compared to what we got.
Yeah. People don't think about it like that, like what they did. They didn't have all this, they didn't have it like we do.
We got it easy, and unfortunately, We let too many things distract us. And I said we.
That's what we have hard.
Well,
Distracted.
I mean, the distractions aren't, yeah, they're hard to avoid, but they're our
yeah.
fault. Mine are
Yeah,
my
but it's
fault.
hard to avoid it. It's hard.
I guess that's true. But imagine you're so much want to learn about God. You got a candle, no air conditioner, no electricity, and you got part of a piece of something, and you're just trying your best, you know. That guy will probably get more credit.
But if
It
that
will
guy
be.
had a cell phone to play on, he would be easier distracted.
But what did God do to offset that? You got the Bible on the cell phone. It's the same choice. That guy could go out and peek in his neighbor's window, or we could turn the cell phone on and play a game, or we can read the Bible on there. We can say, what was that verse? Is David right? I don't know if he's right. So I can pull up whatever, pull up the verse and read it and think about it and do that while you're waiting at the doctor's office.
Yeah, that's true.
Or you could whip it open and email a couple of friends. I'm not saying I'm better. But, I don't know, so is your point that our distractions balance it out?
No, I'm just saying, it's like, seems like we're more distracted than, because
Oh,
we have
probably.
so many different
Oh, I see what you mean.
things going on.
Right. Yeah, when they
We
got
have a
home
car
from,
that can take us
right, I see what you mean.
like this constantly. We have
I
a
see
cell
what
phone
you
that we can pick up and do 50 million things on. I mean,
I see what
we're
you mean.
so
We
distracted.
had tons of distractions, yes. It's hard not to succumb to them, but I do, in my case, I won't speak for anybody but me, I do feel in my heart it's my fault when I give in to the distraction. I feel I could have done better in all cases. So I feel like it's my fault because I know what I got. I know it's a distraction. I'm not innocent. It is hard. Well, that little rascal's cutting her up, isn't she? You want me to carry her to the car, Michelle?
It's okay.
I certainly don't mind.